Well, you may have heard in the Fox newscast, and I heard it before I left the house, and I know he had also said it. It's not news. He said it in the 60 Minutes interview a week ago of Sunday. President elect Donald Trump said it was not a priority of his administration to pack Hillary Clinton off in irons to prison for her activities. Now, that doesn't mean that the FBI's investigation into the Clinton crime family foundation is going to go away. That continues, and we may still have some criminal charges someday that come out of that. But Trump simply is saying he's got bigger fish to fry right now, including turning around the American economy instead of going after old political opponents. Now, you may be unhappy with that because you may have said that's a promise you wanted him to keep. But I think most Americans are on board with the notion that we have to get the economy back up and purring. I heard Maria Bartiromo say on television yesterday that there are some economists now who believe that if Trump goes through with a lot of his plans, we could see within 2 to 3 years 6% growth per year, annual growth in gross domestic product, which would be huge considering that we're hovering right now. I think the average during the Obama years has been between 1 and 2%. So it would be a tremendous turnaround. It had only averaged about 4% during the Reagan years. That is a bit of a benchmark if you're looking for a measurement. 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 31. If you don't put Hillary Clinton behind bars, maybe you lock up Barack Obama for trying to destroy the republic. This is what I'd really like to talk about in segment number one of the program because I came across a number of pieces today. First of all, for some reason, I can't find the audio on it, but there's a judge in San Antonio, Texas, named Primomo. That's his last name, Primomo, and he was presiding over a citizenship, a number of Americans who were being naturalized, citizenship ceremony. And it was reported by Channel 5 television in that city of San Antonio that he said, I heard the soundbite. It wasn't very clear because it was picked up from a mic from halfway across the room, so it wasn't the clearest sound anyway. But he told these people, he said, if you're going to be a citizen of this country, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not here to protest our new president. He's the man who is going to be president of the United States, and you will support him if you're going to be a citizen. And then he told them, if you can't, then leave. It won't be long before the liberals start pushing for his removal from office because, gosh, how dare anyone be so blunt with a lot of people we've imported here to mess up the country? And as I was listening to that, I was reading over several headlines from around the country. This one you may have already heard. It broke yesterday afternoon, was all over the internet, got a lot of coverage. Well, I didn't see it at all on MSDNC or CNN this morning. I didn't watch CNN, so I don't know. But I know Morning Joe didn't bring it up because they were busy bashing Trump instead. But I did see it at Fox, and I did see it at several websites yesterday. Washington Examiner, Department of Justice, that's under Loretta Lynch. I read the other day where liberals say they fear that Jeff Sessions will politicize the Department of Justice. As if it hasn't been over the last 8 years, Loretta Lynch has fined the Denver Sheriff Department for excluding non-citizens when hiring. Yes, they've been hiring law enforcers, and apparently they are not hiring people who are here potentially illegally. So the Denver Sheriff's Department is being fined. The Sheriff's Department, the biggest sheriff's office in Colorado, will pay a $10,000 fine, according to the Examiner, after it required applications for deputy sheriff jobs to be U.S. citizens when hiring from the beginning of 2015 through March 2016. Say, I'm a member of MS-13 and I crossed the border illegally to deal dope and kill people. Can I join? Well, the Justice Department in Washington now says you can. The department went on a hiring spree of 200 deputies as part of its ongoing reform. The department will also have to go through old applications to find applicants who were eliminated because of their citizenship status and reconsider them for future jobs. By the way, if you're an American who's got a criminal justice degree and you went through an accredited school and you've got all of that done, you've got the training, sorry, Esteban over here from El Salvador wants the job. So we're going to give it to him. 8:11 now on KLIX. Bill Colley with you this morning. The Daily Signal has this. In 2006, so this is 10 years ago, these Democrats still in office voted to build a wall. Two-thirds of the Republican-led House approved the bill, including 64 Democrats, and 80 of 100 senators approved the bill in the Senate. You may remember this. President George W. Bush, he signed it into law. And yet, 10 years later, we still don't have a wall. Then, Senators Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Hillary Clinton were among the 26 Democrats who approved the bill. Supporters also included Senator Chuck Schumer, who is set to take over leadership of the Senate for Democrats in 2016. He's doing it shortly, actually. It'll come up in January when Harry Reid is gone for good. Other Democrats in the Senate who voted for the wall in 2006, Barbara Boxer of California, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Tom Carper of Delaware, Dianne Feinstein of California, the retiring Barbara Mikulski of Maryland, Bill Nelson of Florida, Debbie Stabenow of Michigan, and the liberal Ron Wyden of Oregon. Former Democrat representatives, this is over in the House of Representatives, Barney Frank, and now disgraced former Democrat Representative Anthony Weiner also voted for the bill. They were among the 80-some Democrats who voted for it. So it was good then. It's bad now. Why is it bad now? Because, golly gee, we can get illegal immigrants to vote in California and then claim that Hillary Clinton won the majority vote. Okay, gotcha. Washington Times. Stephen Dinan, the reporter. Illegal immigrants pose as families tell tales of woe to gain entry into United States. Illegal immigrants, there we go, I'll get that out, are trying a new strategy, he writes, to sneak into the USA, pairing up with unrelated children and pretending to be families, fabricating tales of heart-rending woes back home to try to convince border agents to admit them into the country, according to internal Homeland Security documents reviewed by the Washington Times. You're not seeing this in the Washington Post for obvious reasons, or the New York Times, or over at CNN, or over at MSDNC, or CBS, ABC, or NBC. They don't want you to know it. And they tend to believe that nobody on the internet, the internet thingy out there, that you don't have access to all of these stories from other sources. And yet we do. And somehow they're still living in the bubble where I think they can perpetuate the big lie. And of course, if you say, well, I'm calling attention to this situation, they'll say, oh, but we don't know if they're families or not. You must be a hateful, racist bigot. And then they hope to shut you down for bringing it up. Excuse me, but this is not only criminal, it's fraudulent. And whose children are they bringing across? Do they kidnap them and drag them away from their own families and their own villages to do this? Oh, you shouldn't talk about that, you hateful bigot. Once again, you have the Democrats trying to build a majority by telling all of these people when they get here, criminally, fraudulently as well, that if you come here, we'll give you free stuff if you vote for us. Even comedian Bill Maher, who's a flaming liberal, I call him comedian because that's how he describes himself. I know a lot of people out there wouldn't agree with that. But he says the Democrats' policy seems to be now that if you get across the border, you can stay. And they're not going to do anything to turn you back around. Why? Again, because we don't have voter ID, you don't know who these people are, and they can show up on Election Day and they can cast votes for Hillary or any other number of Democrats out there who are promising them that Santa Claus will come and deliver them everything they've ever wanted. And then the Daily Signal has this. The Obama White House has shut down aerial surveillance on the border. Now, individually, all of these things I've been telling you about are bad enough. But if you look at them all in a combination, you understand what's going on here. They're allowing people to fraudulently cross the border and claim that the children they've kidnapped are their own, and then claiming that we're bigots if we complain. They're also saying that there's nothing we can do about it, and that we need to have sanctuary cities, and that we can't be mean-spirited. But they're also reducing enforcement by pulling down these drones that patrol the border. So the door is open, and they are welcoming these people, trying to get as many of them into the USA over the next 60 days. By January 20th, they're trying to get them all into the country so they can pack the voter rolls with these people for the next election cycle. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security quietly shut down Operation Phalanx, an aerial surveillance program that intercepts drugs and illegal crossings along the Mexican border. Representative Henry Cuellar, a Democrat, by the way, from Laredo, vows to challenge the move, saying Congress provided full funding for next year. Cuellar, a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the Homeland Security Subcommittee, is drafting a letter to DHS Secretary Jay Johnson in protest. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Cuellar challenged Johnson last February when DHS reduced Phalanx's flight operations. So I've just given you 4 different headlines and 4 separate stories here that show you how they are trying to erase this border to recapture that Democrat majority they claim they would have for generations and generations. And they don't care that it will destroy the country and that it will bankrupt the country. They don't care because it's all about they can maintain power. There are high offices. Well, this is why I say, even if you don't lock Hillary Clinton away, you need to grab Barack Obama, slap him in irons and chains now, and drag him off to Leavenworth and tell him that's where he's going to spend the rest of his life. Because he is subverting his country, the will of his people, and he is destroying this grand republic. Bill Colley on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 17 minutes after 8 o'clock. Want to thank you for joining us. We're up to the freezing point. It's 32. Jeff Sessions, I mentioned him earlier. Do you realize that liberals are screaming out there that he's a racist because his full name is Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III? And apparently he's named after Jefferson Davis and General Beauregard, Confederates, of course. And he was born in 1946 when those names were quite common in places like Alabama. And he had no choice in what he was being named. But Democrats are now saying that we shouldn't have someone in public office because, well, they don't like his names. Even though Bill Clinton, who was apparently his middle name comes from Thomas Jefferson, once told a young man he was meeting during his campaigns that he was named after Jefferson Davis instead. But see, that was okay because he's the candy man. You know, he's going to come and give all of you liberal minority groups and all these other things they've cobbled together with identity politics, all of their free goodies. So that's okay. Jeff Sessions, on the other hand, may step into that DOJ office and he'll rescind the fine against the Denver Sheriff's Department. He'll help close that border and he'll start sending these people back who are, again, lawbreakers. And yes, Donald Trump was spot on 18 months ago when he said that some of them were rapists and murderers. Clearly they are. All you have to do is read the newspaper out of Boise every day, and you'll see that there's evidence of that. We've got a short break ahead. Steve Millington is going to join us between 8:30 and 9 o'clock this morning. He's the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. And then I have some folks from a Victory Home Restoration coming up just after 9 o'clock today. Their church rescues souls. I mean, they do wonderful, wonderful work in this community. And they have a big fundraiser, a couple of them actually going on this time of year and some other events that can help you. You can help out people who really need to get their lives back together. It's a good cause. It's a Christian cause. They'll be along just after 9 o'clock news this morning.